Texas Tech men's basketball secured an 82-76 win over Oral Roberts on Tuesday night at the USA. In today's video, we'll discuss the standout players from this game and why this game is bigger than people think. Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's RC Maxfield here for the Back to 12 podcast. If you want more of these Texas Tech men's basketball videos here on the channel, I know there's a ton of stuff going on when it comes to transfer portal, bowl game, and everything in between for Texas Tech football. But if you want to see more Texas Tech men's basketball content here on the channel, all you have to do is simply like the video. It lets us know that you want more of this content and goes a long way in terms of helping us. So, hey, if you want more of it, just simply like the video. All right, let's jump right into this right away as Texas Tech men's basketball beats Oral Roberts 82-76. You're led by Warren Washington, who had the 10th double-double of his collegiate career. He had 18 points and 12 rebounds, alongside Darrion Williams, who had 15 points and 10 rebounds. Not to mention Kerwin Walton also had another stellar performance for the Red Raiders with 17 points. The big deal in this one overall for me is Texas Tech beat a quality opponent. I think Oral Roberts is going to compete for the Summit this year, right? They lost a lot of guys, don't get me wrong, including that point guard down in Austin now and Max Asmus, right? But you also have to think about what they do well, and they shoot the lights out of it, and they understand they cannot turn the ball over. That is what Oral Roberts does, and they didn't really do that against Texas Tech. But what they did do is limit Joe and Pop. That was one thing that really stood out to me for Texas Tech early on in the season was how is Texas Tech going to win a basketball game if Pop Isaacs and Joe Toussaint struggle? Well, we saw that on Tuesday night as they combined for 18 points. They only turned the ball over 3 times as a pair. But overall, this was their worst performance of the year as a duo for Texas Tech. And Texas Tech still pretty handily beats ORU. It got a little sloppy there to end the game. Texas Tech, I believe, had 4 total turnovers, going into about the final 4 minutes of the game. They had 4 turnovers in what seemed like 4 possessions there at the end. And Oral Roberts at least made it close there at the end. But Texas Tech did prevail. And the reason Oral Roberts kept it close overall, well, they shot 44% from 3. That's really going to help you, and that's their identity, right? They're going to be a very high shooting three-point team, not only in terms of attempts, but also in terms of percentage makes on there. What did we learn from this game, though, before we get into one thing that is abundantly clear to me through 9 games? And it is a drastic change, and it is a beautiful one if you are a part of Red Raider Nation and a Texas Tech fan. But before we get into that, what we learned. We learned that Kerwin Walton game against Omaha was not a fluke. And now, do I expect him to average 17 points per game? No, and neither should you. But he's going to be a guy that is going to be asked to have a larger role with Devin Cambridge out. He's came back after a game where he scored 24 points against Omaha, scored 17 against a really solid Oral Roberts team. And he's not just doing it shooting the basketball either. He's driving the ball and getting to the lane. He's going down and rebounding. This is a guy that didn't average a rebound per game last year, and he's got 3 and 4 the past 2 games. Am I saying that's, oh my gosh, numbers? No, but it's critical in the sense that now he's going to play more minutes. Now he's going to have a more impactful role, and now he's doing more for Texas Tech overall in terms of what we thought he actually was coming from North Carolina a year ago. It's crazy what happens when a player has confidence and a coach has confidence in a player. That's what's happening right now with Kerwin Walton, and he's paying huge dividends early on in this expanded role that he has for Texas Tech. Also, Robert Jennings, it's been mentioned a couple times that he's working his way back from injury. This is more October for him than December. He had a really solid game. Didn't shoot well early on. I believe he started 0 for 6 and just kind of was lackadaisical under the rim. Didn't really show off that power that he had. Then went on and scored 6 points, had 8 rebounds, a career high for him, I might add. And he's going to be the backup center to Warren Washington with no Devin Cambridge. We're not asking RJ to do a lot here. I think he's going to play in that neighborhood of maybe 6 to 8, 7 to 9 minutes per game just to spell Warren Washington while Texas Tech goes small the other minutes that Warren isn't on the floor. But he's going to be an impactful guy and a guy that I think is going to have to play at least a solid bench role for Texas Tech moving forward. It was good to see what he did on the boards against Oral Roberts. Also in this one, I understand people are nervous about Pop, I guess I probably should say is the word. I'm not, and maybe it's to a fault. I want my shooters to shoot. And Pop, I know the percentages don't show it right now, but he is arguably the best shooter on this team. He's taken some bad threes in terms of late in the shot clock where he's just had to take them, right? He's also missed some wide open threes. The process is there. He is taking good threes a majority of the time. He's just missed. And when it comes down to it, I'm okay with him taking really good shots for a shooter of his caliber because I know eventually they will go in. Not to mention, Pop is impacting the games in other way. He's been a solid playmaker. He led Texas Tech in assists last night against Oral Roberts. And it's one of those things where, again, the process is correct. The ball will eventually go through. And when that happens, we're going to really forget about this dry spell that he had in terms of just absolutely not shooting the ball well from three early on. But he is a pivotal player for Texas Tech moving forward. All right, one thing that is just abundantly clear through 9 games for Texas Tech in the Grant McCasland era, in my opinion. Grant McCasland is not afraid to make an adjustment and go with what is working. I know what you're saying. RC, that's obvious. That's a coach's job. Did y'all watch college basketball last year in terms of Texas Tech and what they did? They made no adjustments. I mean, zero. They went with whatever the game plan was, and they made no adjustments to a rotation at all, okay? Injuries were part of it. I get that, but they made no adjustments last year. It is very refreshing overall to see a coach be okay with, okay, maybe the game plan that we had coming in wasn't right. Let's make an adjustment on the fly, whatever that is, on the defensive side of the floor or offensive side of the floor to best put our guys in a position to win. Egos be damned. That's one thing that really stands out to me in terms of Grant McCasland and this coaching staff early on for Texas Tech. And the perfect example is Kerwin Walton. Look how he was used last year and look how he's used this year. The last 2 games, a little different, obviously, in the sense that he's going to have an expanded role. But also, McCasland is just pouring confidence into this kid. He is playing at a high level. This is arguably the best college basketball stretch that Kerwin Walton has had. And this is a guy that moved from Minnesota, went to one of the bluest of blue bloods in UNC, was on a title run team in terms of on their bench, transferred to Texas Tech last year, was not used really at all outside of just, I'm ready to shoot it. That's it. This year, he's being asked to do more defensively. He's being asked to do more offensively in terms of spacing, off the dribble, rebounding. It's amazing what confidence can do in a coach that is okay with admitting, hey, maybe I was wrong on this game plan. I'm going to adjust and just put whatever is working out there and put my ego to the side. It's refreshing to see, and that's what we've seen so far from Grant McCasland, and it's something that I'm looking forward to seeing more of for Texas Tech moving forward. Speaking of Texas Tech moving forward, their next game will be on Saturday in DFW, specifically at Dickies Arena out in Fort Worth against the Commodores of Vanderbilt, the Fighting Jerry Stackhouses. It'll be out there in DFW. That will be a part of a triple header, I believe they have at Dickies Arena. Some pretty solid competition going on out there. So if you want to be a part of that, live in DFW, go be out in Fort Worth. Hang out with the Red Raiders on Saturday. And you can watch the game, the basketball game, and then they're having a watch party for football out there as well, since it's on the same day and everything like that. But that's going to do it as Texas Tech defeats Oral Roberts 82-76 with a lot of positives moving forward. Obviously, there's going to be some things that Texas Tech has to fix and figure out moving forward, specifically with the bigs and everything when you don't have Devin Cambridge. But so far, it looks like Kerwin Walton is up for the challenge in terms of stepping his game up and doing a little bit more. And it is great to see and refreshing to see a coaching staff that is okay with making adjustments. And that is exactly what the Red Raiders have done so far. Once again, I am RC Maxfield reminding you, if you want to be a part of the most engaging Texas Tech community here on YouTube and one of the fastest growing, we're not too far away from 9K, people. That's crazy. Thank y'all so much for subscribing. And if you haven't already, be sure to do so. Hit that notification bell and like the video to stay in the know on Texas Tech men's basketball all year long right here on the Back to 12 podcast channel.